Welcome to this comprehensive segment of Lecture 2, where we explore the lives and works of most influential sociological thinkers. Understanding their ideas is essential to grasp the very essence of sociology, as these pioneers formulated the key theories and questions continue to shape our understanding of society, power, and human behavior today. By examining their theories in their historical and social contexts, we gain valuable insights into how sociologists interpret social structures, inequalities, identities, and cultural norms. This lecture aims to equip you with the conceptual tools for advanced sociological analysis, highlighting how their ideas remain profoundly relevant in addressing contemporary social challenges. Engaging deeply with their work will empower you to critically analyze society and envision pathways for social transformation. First is Karl Marx. Karl Marx was born in 1818 in Prussia, a period characterized by rapid industrial change and social upheaval. Trained as a philosopher and political economist, Marx emerged as a pioneering critique of capitalist society. His early experiences with economic disparities, fueled by the harsh reality of industrialization, profoundly shaped his intellectual trajectory. At the core of Marx's sociology is his theory of historical materialism. His theory posits that the material economic base of society, the means of production, including factories, resources, and labor, fundamentally shapes the social superstructure, which comprises cultural, political, and legal institutions. According to Marx, societal development is primarily driven by the conflicts arising from these economic foundations. Marx famously identified two principal classes in capitalist society: the bourgeoisie, who owned and controlled the means of production, and the proletariat, the working class, compelled to sell their labor in exchange for wages. Marx argued that this relationship is inherently exploitative. The bourgeoisie appropriates surplus value generated by the proletariat's labor, resulting in systematic inequality and alienation. Alienation, another critical concept, describes the estrangement of workers from the product of their labor, the production process, their own human essence, and fellow workers. This alienation undermines the worker's sense of fulfillment and community, highlighting the dehumanizing effects of capitalist production. Furthermore, Marx predicted that capitalism's own contradictions, such as the tendency towards economic crisis due to overproduction and the concentration of wealth, would precipitate its eventual downfall. Class consciousness among the proletariat would emerge, leading to revolutionary change and the establishment of a classless communist society characterized by collective ownership and egalitarian social relations. His conflict theory provides a framework for understanding power dynamics, social inequality, and systematic oppression. His analysis critiques social institutions as mechanisms that perpetuate ruling class dominance, influencing subsequent schools of thought, including critical theory and contemporary studies of race, gender, and global capitalism. In conclusion, sociological theories of Marx offer invaluable insights into the intersection of economy, power, and social relations. They challenge us to rigorously analyze societal structures and envision transformative possibilities beyond existing inequalities. Next is Émile Durkheim, born in 1851 in France. He is widely regarded as founding father of sociology, often credited with establishing sociology as a rigorous empirical discipline distinct from philosophy and psychology. Was that society must be studied as a unique reality composed of social facts, norms, values, institutions, and structures that exist externally to individuals yet exert coercive power over them. Unlike individual psychology, social facts are collective phenomena that shape individual behavior and ensure social order. One of Durkheim's defining contributions is his theory of social integration and its effect on individual well being. His seminal study, Suicide, published in 1897, empirically demonstrated that suicide rates correlate with levels of social integration and regulation. He identified different types of suicide: egoistic, altruistic, anomic, and fatalistic, each reflecting particular social conditions and degrees of connectedness or alienation. Durkheim emphasized that a well functioning society depends on solidarity, which he classified into two types: mechanical and organic solidarity. Mechanical solidarity characterizes traditional societies where social cohesion arises from similarities among members. In contrast, organic solidarity is typical of modern, complex societies where division of labor creates interdependence and social cohesion. Another key concept introduced by Durkheim is the collective conscious, or shared beliefs and moral attitudes that bind individuals into a community. He argued that education and religion play vital roles in transmitting these collective norms, sustaining social cohesion and stability. Durkheim was also concerned with the dangers of anomie, a state of normlessness or social instability resulting from breakdowns in social regulation. Anomie can cause feelings of alienation and purposelessness which threaten the fabric of society. Durkheim's methodological rigor laid the groundwork for quantitative sociology, advocating systematic observation and the use of statistics to understand social phenomena. His commitment to objectivity and empirical research distinguishes his legacy and deeply influences modern sociology. In sum, Durkheim's framework elucidates how society shapes individual behavior through internalized norms and the maintenance of social cohesion. His insights into integration, regulation, and the functional necessity of institutions remain critical of sociology's examination of social order and change. Next is Max Weber, who was born in 1864 in Germany. He stands as one of sociology's foundational theorists, distinguished for emphasizing the interpretive understanding of social action and the importance of meaning in human behavior. Where Karl Marx foregrounds material economic structures and Emile Durkheim emphasizes social facts and cohesion, Weber introduces a nuanced analysis of individuals' subjective motivation within social contexts. Central to Weber's sociology is the concept of Verstehen, or interpretive understanding. Weber argued that to comprehend social action, sociologists must explore the meanings individuals attach to their behaviors, intentions, and social relationships. This focus on subjective meaning differentiates from the structuralist tendencies of other classical theorists. Weber classified social action into four types: instrumentally rational, behavior driven by calculated means to clear ends, such as a business decision. Second is value rational, action motivated by belief in the inherent value of behavior itself, regardless of outcome. Next is affective, action driven by emotions or feelings like anger or love. Next is traditional, behavior guided by habitual customs. Beyond individual action, Weber analyzed the structure of authority and bureaucracy as defining features of modern society. He identified three pure types of authority. First is traditional authority, power legitimized by long standing customs and practices such as monarchies. Second is charismatic authority, power derived from an individual's extraordinary personal qualities inspiring devotion. Third is legal rational authority, power based on formal rules, laws, and procedures exemplified by bureaucracies. Weber viewed bureaucracy as the most rational and efficient organizational form of modern industrial societies, but warned of its iron cage effect, where rigid rules and impersonal procedures may stifle individual freedom and creativity. One of Weber's most influential contribution is his analysis of the relationship between religion and economic behavior. In his seminal work, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, Weber explored how Calvinists' beliefs, particularly the emphasis on hard work, discipline, and asceticism, contributed to the development of modern capitalism in the West. This study highlights the intricate culture and historical interactions between idea and economic structures. Weber's approach extends sociology beyond economics and social order into culture, religion, and political power, emphasizing the complexity of modern social life. His insistence on understanding meaning and authority continues to shape contemporary sociological theory, political science, and organizational studies. In summary, Max Weber's legacy enriches sociology by marrying empirical analysis with interpretive depth, integrating subjective meanings, power dynamics, and cultural influences within a comprehensive framework for understanding society. Next is Herbert Spencer. Herbert Spencer, a contemporary of early sociologists and a key figure in the 19th century, made significant contributions to sociology by applying the principles of Darwinian evolution to the study of society. Born in 1820 in England, Spencer was instrumental in developing what came to be known as social Darwinism. Though his views are more nuanced and complex than often portrayed, Spencer conceptualized society as a living organism, an analogy that would profoundly influence sociological thought. Much like a biological organism, society consists of interrelated parts, such as the economy, family, political institutions, that function together to maintain the whole system's stability and growth. This organic analogy anticipates later functionalist approach by emphasizing social cohesion and differentiation. He argued that societies evolve from simple homogeneous structure to more complex heterogeneous systems. This evolutionary process involves increasing specialization and interdependence among social institutions and individuals. For Spencer, progress results from this natural differentiation and integration, leading to greater social harmony and efficiency. However, a phrase he coined to describe competition and natural selection within social contexts. He applied this concept to justify social inequalities, suggesting that societal evolution favors the most capable individuals and groups. While controversial, this perspective influenced debates on social policy, particularly regarding welfare and reform. It is important to critically appraise Spencer's contributions. His ideas helped establish a scientific framework for understanding social change and structure. but have also been criticized for endorsing a deterministic and often conservative view that may legitimize inequality and inhibit social reform. Spencer's view of society as an evolving organism laid a theoretical foundation that shaped sociological functionalism and influenced later thinkers. His integration of evolutionary theory with social analysis marks a significant milestone in sociology. Georg Simmel, a German sociologist born in 1858, is widely recognized as a foundational figure in the development of microsociology and social interactionism. Unlike contemporaries who primarily large scale social structures, Simmel focused attention on the everyday interactions and forms of social life that compose human experience. Simmel's major contribution lies in his analysis of the forms and patterns through which individuals engage with one another. He argued that society is the sum of these dynamic interactions which can be observed in myriad contexts, such as friendships, group affiliations, or urban life. For Simmel, the study of these interactions reveals how social order emerges from the complex dance of individual behaviors. One of Simmel's well known concepts is the role of the stranger. The stranger occupies a unique social position, neither fully inside nor outside a group, representing distance and connection simultaneously. This paradoxical status illustrates the complexity of modern social relationships and the ambivalence inherent in social proximity and distance. Simmel also explored the impact of urbanization on individuals in the metropolis and mental life. He suggested that the overwhelming stimuli of city life produced a blast attitude, a protective psychological response characterized by detachment and rational calculation. This insight anticipates important discussions about the effects of modernity on social behavior. His work emphasized the importance of dualisms in social life. For example, the tension between individuality and social conformity, or freedom and constraint. These dialectical forces are central to understanding the fluidity and contradictions that define social existence. Unlike structural theorists, Simmel's approach is distinctly interpretive and qualitative, emphasizing the subjective meanings individuals ascribe to social life. His pioneering focus on micro level social processes shapes much of contemporary sociology's interest in daily life, culture, and identity. In summation, George Simmel's scholarship illuminates the nuanced textures of social interaction and the forms through which society is continuously reproduced and transformed. His work serves as a vital bridge between macro level structures and micro level experience within sociological inquiry. Harriet Martineau, born in 1802 in England, is considered one of the earliest female sociologists and an important pioneer in the development of sociological methodology and social reform. Despite the constraints faced by women in 19th century academia, Martineau made substantial contributions that have only recently received wider recognition within the discipline. Martineau's sociological work was deeply intertwined with her commitment to social justice and reform. She championed critical studies of institutions such as family, marriage, education, and religion, emphasizing the importance of examining society for the purpose of improving the lives of its members, particularly women and marginalized groups. A pioneer in sociological methodology, Martineau argued that to understand society scientifically, Researchers must systematically observe social behaviors and institutions while maintaining an ethical commitment to objectivity and reform. She stressed the necessity of studying society holistically, including the experiences of women and enslaved peoples, topics largely neglected by her male contemporaries. Her work anticipated many of her concerns central to feminist sociology and intersectional analysis today. Martineau highlighted how gender, class, and race inequalities intersect to shape social experience and called for sociological inquiry to be inclusive and activist in nature. Martineau's legacy also includes her notable translation and dissemination of Auguste Comte's work into English, making foundational sociological texts accessible to a broader audience. In summary, Harriet Martineau's contributions to sociology transcends her time, bridging rigorous methodological standards with a pioneering focus on marginalized voices and social reform. She remains an essential figure for understanding the origins of critical and feminist sociology. Next is W.E.B. Du Bois, 1868 to 1963, stands as one of the most monumental figures in sociology, whose contributions profoundly reshaped the discipline by centralizing race, power, and social justice as core sociological concerns. A visionary scholar, activist, and intellectual, Du Bois' work marks a pivotal turning point, bridging marginalized perspectives into the heart of sociological analysis and challenging prevailing Eurocentric paradigms. Born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, Du Bois demonstrated exceptional intellectual promise, early gaining a classical education that, combined with his experience growing up in a relatively tolerant northern town, fostered a nuanced awareness of race and inequality that propelled his life's work. This international scholarly grounding equipped him with rigorous tools to empirically and theoretically challenge racial oppression. Du Bois' sociology is most famously marked by his concept of double consciousness, articulated in his seminal work, The Souls of Black Folk, 1903. This concept reveals the deeply psychological and sociological experience of African Americans subjected to systematic racism, of being forced to view themselves through two conflicted lenses, one's own self perception and the perception imposed by a racist dominant society. Du Bois wrote, "It is a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness, this sense of always looking at one's self through the eyes of others. One ever feels his two-ness, an American, a Negro, two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings." This duality engenders a persistent internal conflict and social annihilation, underscoring the complex identity formation within oppressive structures. The concept continues to be a foundational analytic for studies of identity, race, and intersectionality. Du Bois did not restrict his work to abstract theorization. His pioneering sociological research was empirically and methodologically rigorous. His 1899 study, The Philadelphia Negro, is arguably the first example of systematic data-driven community surveillance in American sociology. Faced with widespread stereotypes about black communities, Du Bois and his collaborators gathered detailed census data, interviews, and observations to document African American life in Philadelphia. This groundbreaking work exposed the structural inequalities, poverty, and discrimination faced by black residents and emphasized the role of sociological research as a tool of social advocacy. Moreover, the Philadelphia Negro established empirical standards for qualitative and quantitative research, combining statistics with ethnographic insights, a methodology that prefigures contemporary mixed methods approaches. The work strongly contested racist pseudoscience by scientifically illuminating the adverse social condition imposed by segregation and disenfranchisement. Du Bois' sociological oeuvre also critiques the political economy of race and capitalism. Influenced by Marxist thought, he elucidated how racial capitalism functions as a system of economic and social domination. In his concept of color line, Du Bois argued that race acts as structuring social hierarchy and economic exploitation in the US and globally. He famously claimed in The Souls of Black Folk that the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line, a recognition of racial division's pivotal role in shaping social realities. This linkage between race, class, and imperialism became central to Du Bois' later work. Through his life, he became increasingly involved in global anti-colonial, pan-Africanist politics. Du Bois saw the liberation of oppressed peoples worldwide as inseparable from the liberation of Black Americans, making him a critical figure in both American sociology and international social justice movements. A committed activist as well as an academic, Du Bois co-founded the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in 1909, striving to merge scholarly research with political activism. His monthly journal, The Crisis, became a legal platform to raise consciousness about racial injustice, civil rights, and cultural expressions. Du Bois' scholarship spanned decades, marked by profound contradictions from the optimism of Reconstruction to the entrenched oppression of Jim Crow laws to global decolonization struggles. Late in life, disillusioned by persistent racism in US, he became a citizen of Ghana in 1961, dedicating his final years to Pan-African solidarity. In summary, W.E.B. Du Bois' multifaceted contribution to sociology, double consciousness, empirical research, the color line, intersection of race and capitalism, and the integration of activism with scholarship constitute a towering intellectual edifice. His work fundamentally challenges sociologists to confront issues of power, identity, and inequality with rigor, compassion, and a transformative vision. Next is Talcott Parsons. Parsons was a central figure in mid 20th century sociology, whose theoretical framework shaped the discipline profoundly, especially in the US and Europe. His contributions build upon and systemize earlier functionalist perspective, offering a grand theory of social systems that emphasizes stability, order, and integration. Parsons sought to explain how complex modern societies maintain cohesion and function effectively amid rapid change and differentiation. He theorized that society is a system of interrelated parts working together to fulfill necessary functions. This approach, known as structural functionalism, became dominant in sociology for decades. A key concept introduced by Parsons is the AGIL framework, which identifies four fundamental functions any social system must perform to survive and maintain equilibrium: adaptation, the system's capacity to interact with the environment and gather resources. Economic institutions primarily fulfill this role. Goal attainment, the ability to define and achieve objectives, typically the domain of political systems and governance. Integration, the coordination and regulation of subsystems ensuring cohesion and solidarity. Social norms, laws, and institutions of social control perform this function. Latency or pattern maintenance, the process by which societies create and sustain motivation and cultural patterns. Education, family, and religion are crucial here. Parsons argued that these functions are interdependent and the stability of the social system depends on their balanced operational. This analysis sought to provide a universal framework applicable to all societies, emphasizing order rather than conflict. While influential, Parsons' theory has faced critique for its perceived conservatism and insufficient attention to social change, conflict, and inequalities. Critics argue his work focus on consensus clauses over power disparities and social struggles highlighted by conflict theorists like Marx. Nevertheless, Parsons' work remains foundational in understanding how societies organize themselves and sustain continuity. His framework informs contemporary discussions on social systems, institutions, and the balance between stability and transformation. Jane Addams Jane Addams was a pioneering American sociologist, social reformer, and activist whose work epitomizes the practical application of sociological concepts to real world social problems. Unlike many of her contemporaries who emphasized theoretical frameworks, Addams steadfastly grounded her contribution in community engagement and social justice. Born into a prosperous Illinois family, grapple intensely with issues of poverty, inequality, and women's rights. She is best known for founding Hull House in Chicago in 1889, one of America's first settlement houses. Hull House served as a community center providing essential services such as education, child care, and health care to immigrants and the urban poor, while also functional as a hub of sociological research and advocacy. Next is George Herbert Mead. He was an American philosopher and sociologist whose profound theoretical contributions fundamentally shaped the field of symbolical interactionism and sociological study of the self and social processes. Mead's work emphasizes the significance of communication, meaning making, and the social construction of reality. Mead argued that the self arises through social interaction, positing that human beings develop self consciousness by taking the role of other, imagining how they appear from others' perspective. This process enables individuals to internalize societal expectation and norms. Central to this concept of generalized other, the internalized attitudes of the broader community guiding behavior. Gramsci was an Italian Marxist philosopher, political theorist, and sociologist whose innovative ideas on cultural hegemony and power have deeply influenced contemporary sociology and critical theory. Gramsci's work extends and revises classical Marxist thought to account for the role of culture, ideology, and consent in maintaining power structures, moving beyond economic determinism. Gramsci introduced the concept of cultural hegemony, which refers to the domination of culturally diverse society by the ruling class, who manipulate the culture so that their worldview becomes the accepted cultural norm. This domination is not maintained solely through force or coercion, but through consensual acceptance of ideas, values, and beliefs that serve the interest of ruling group. In other words, hegemonic power operates by shaping common sense and social norms, subtly influencing the population consent to their own subordination. Thank you for joining this deep exploration of the foundational figures who have shaped sociology as we know it today, from Marx's critique of capitalism to Durkheim's insight on social cohesion. We today saw ideas serve not only theoretical cornerstones but also as tools to analyze and engage with the complex social issues of our time. As you reflect on these thinkers, remember that sociology is a living discipline, constantly evolving and expanding through continued inquiry and critical thought. In upcoming lectures, we will build on this foundation by examining diverse sociological theories and methodologies, equipping you further to understand, critique, and influence the societies we inhabit. Until then, keep questioning, connecting, and thinking sociologically.